What's going on, world? Hopefully everyone's well. Let's get on with Chapter 2, The Life and Suffering of Sir Brante in Times of the Fall of the Blessed Archnean Empire. That is quite the title. Hey! Oh, man. There we go. The mark left on you by the sacrament takes a long, long time to heal. Mother says is a reminder of your lot, suffering and sufferance, pain and patience. Gloria shows you the mark of the lash on her shoulder one day. It will never disappear. You are a commoner now. This is the lot you were born into. But Father keeps telling you to study hard, so you may yet earn a different lot and become noble of the mantle. You recall the past with warm sadness, when Stephen still lived with you, or when he wrote to you for a time shortly after he left. Now he thinks it beneath him to write to the commoners in his family. Stefan. Hey! Stephen. That's so weird. Mother didn't lock herself in the bedroom as often back then. This changed shortly before Nathan was born. But most importantly, you missed the time before the terrifying figure of your grandfather was constantly looming over you. You learned the true power of the lot only after the head of the family's arrival. In grandfather's eyes, no commoner deserves to be treated with kindness. Is this just him, or is it the way of the entire world? The very thought makes you queasy. You are older now, and what's more, you are an elder brother now. You've learned how to care about someone else, how to teach and protect. Soon you are a small boy no longer. As the days pass, play gradually gives way to laborious study. Now your choices will decide your place in the bizarre and ruthless world of adulthood. Your childhood years are over. Oh yeah, we died because we kicked grandfather in the shins. Yeah, pretty good perception, yeah. Reborn. Born. We have willpower and perception. Alright. Chapter 2. Adolescence. Ooh. You've lived in this world for 8 years now. As you grow older, life grows more complex. The world of your childhood was limited to your house and family, but now that world is growing. It is also your neighborhood, the houses nearby, the streets of the ancient city of Anazat. A question now looms over you, growing more important with each passing year. What will your place be in this vast outer world? Few people in the blessed Archnean Empire trouble themselves with this question. It is not within a man or woman's power to choose. Their destiny is predetermined by their birth and those who bore them. And yet, your peculiar birth has granted you a choice. Your father is a man of nobility, a worthy example in matters of duty and honor. Your mother is a commoner of lowly estate, humility and patience made flesh. and your sky is ablaze day and night with the light of the shining pillar, the beacon of the clergy. Your back bears the mark of the lash. Will you accept the drudgery and suffering that is the lot of the lowborn for your entire life? Or will you follow in the footsteps of your father and your father's father, and fight for the right to serve the empire as a noble of the mantle? Or will you follow the twin gods' word and the spiritual guidance of men? The answer lies out there in the vast, terrifying world. What awaits you beyond the walls of your home? Blood Tide. All right. A little preview of the chapter, I guess. Ooh. I have no relations yet. I'm just a child after all. Hey! Oh. The family expects more and more of you as you grow up. The teachers and tutors hired by your father keep you on your toes all the time. Your life these days is dedicated to studying for your future. For the future of the Brante family. Your younger brother Nathan keeps growing up too. He can hold a conversation now. You never refuse him when he comes to play, provided you have a bit of free time between your demanding lessons. It is a rainy day today. Father and mother have gone to a ball, and they left Nathan in your care. You lose track of time over the books in the sitting room, and Nathan goes off alone to splash in the creek. Soon you hear his voice begging you to come outside. He is on the porch, sobbing, all covered in dirt. You walk up to him as he continues to bawl. It's all that kid. He pushed me into the ditch and called me names. He said I was a fancy pants fool. I shouldn't laugh at my brother. I said I'll call my brother. He's still there. You have to go punish him, Steven. Nathan points at a lopsided wooden house further down the street where the poorer artisans live. You see two boys lingering there on the porch. They are clearly both commoners, but far from poor. One of them is almost as tall as Nathan, and he frowns in a funny way, just like him. The other looks older, almost your age, but he is more broad-shouldered and taller. His name is Tomas. You've heard it before. There, Steven, that's him. Nathan points at the younger boy and hides behind your back. Tomas grins and rolls up his sleeves to reveal strong forearms. He must have been helping his father with manual labor for quite some time. Listen up, rich boys. We don't give a damn about you or your friendship. We don't let nobody call our home a stinking rat hole. Your little brother earned his ditch dive. Maybe next time he'll dress normal and stop picking fights with people who can throw him in the mud. Your hands clench into fists before you react. Nathan called them names first. No wonder they did the same. That's how it goes, but pushing your brother into a ditch is too much. Tomas stands tall and confident. He sees no threat in you. You're about to get ready for a fight when you feel a tug on your sleeve. You turn your head to see Nathan, the one who started the whole mess. I can't listen to my brother. Their nobility in relations go up with Tomas if we come after him. I mean, everything goes up. No one ever is to blame. It takes you a few moments to compose yourself and quell your rage. Your brother has put you on the spot. He couldn't bring himself to apologize, and now you have to settle this for him. And how are you supposed to do that, pray tell? If you had done this, grandfather would have had you flogged, and father would have scolded you and given you the cold shoulder for days afterward. You frowned and asked Nathan to come closer. You addressed Nathan sternly. He told you these boys were to blame, but he was the one who called them names first. So how is this their fault? It serves him right. Next time, he should watch his mouth. Your lecture sounds a lot like father. You think your tirade came out well enough. Nathan pouts, looks away, and furrows his brow. Still he nods. Tomas slowly shakes his head in disapproval. Then he bursts out laughing. To him, this is actually hilarious. Well, would you look at that? You're a right little nobleman. Are you going to push him in the ditch yourself now? His words turn your seemingly perfect solution into repulsive absurdity. Blood rushes to your face. You step closer to Tomas and shove him. Hard. He jumps back, surprised by your assault. It takes him a moment to compose himself, but now he's ready. His fists cover his face, and he attacks you with a quick jab. Now it is your turn to take a step backward. Tomas does not resort to fancy moves, dirty tricks, or stupid taunts. He displays nothing but skill earned in many a street fight, and his heavy fists aim for your head. You keep dodging him again and again, trying to reach him. He takes a couple of glancing blows, but easily shakes them off. What a bruiser. You start swinging your fists with greater and greater fury. The world swims before your eyes. You clutch at your head to get your bearings. Tomas is standing in front of you, blood dripping from his nose. You no longer want to fight it out, and it seems your opponent would rather end it too. But you keep standing there, eyeing each other angrily. Then, suddenly, you hear an angry shout right next to you. An enraged man in a craftsman apron is shaking his fist. Tomas's face contorts in terror right away. It's my father. Run. The punishment for fighting is flogging, and the mere prospect of that makes you run like the wind. Tomas sprints in front of you. You dash across the rotten wooden planks of the back alley, up and over a lopsided fence, across a giant puddle in one leap, and then forward into the tall grass. You hide there and stay quiet. You hear no sounds of pursuit. You exchange glances with Tomas and start laughing. His laughter is loud and infectious, but soon he cuts it short and grows sadder. I'm gonna get flogged anyways. My dad's always quick to give me a beating. And then he'll start nagging me about the lots and the prayers for days like he always does. Why do I always get myself mixed up in this stuff? But fighting's the only way to prove you're worth anything, right? The adults didn't see you fighting, you tell them, so all you have to do now is convince them you weren't. Nosebleeds happen, right? Mother gets nosebleeds all the time. Well, we could try it. Let's hope our little brothers don't tell on us. I'll talk to mine. There's a scratch on your head. Don't let them see it. Good thing I didn't hit you in the face. There, good as new. You assure him that Nathan will never tell, and in return you'll make sure he behaves himself so he won't get tossed into a ditch again. With that, you shake hands with Tomas. His handshake is as strong as you would expect, based on his fists. You make your way out of the tall grass. You need to leave before Tomas's father goes to your family and complains about you breaking your law. Oh, I know lots of places like that. I'll tell you what, if we get out of this mess today, I'll show you the way to the old wall. It's the perfect place to build forts. I dragged a bunch of wooden planks there. Too bad it's no fun to build all alone. My brother never helps. He just gets in the way. You emerge from the muddy back alleys united by a secret only the two of you know. It seems you've made a friend today. It's a weird way of getting a friend. Doo-doo. It's blistering hot today, even for the sun-parched land of Magra. As soon as you're done with your studies, you dash outdoors and out the stuffy room. You and Tomas roll up your shirt sleeves, but it barely helps. You would gladly go shirtless had you been in the company of other boys. But there are 3 girls in the yard today. They are doing the laundry in a big wash tub, whispering and giggling. If you could, you would gladly keep watching one of them at work. She has big eyes of deep blue. Her dark hair is braided, and her plain gray dress is mended and patched all over. Her name is Sophia. She throws her head back a little when she laughs. The rays of the sun are reflected in her eyes. You, Tomas, and the other boys keep telling silly stories. Anything to make her laugh. That's weird. You sure love telling tall tales, Stephen. Oh, I remember this one time. But then Sophia hears a voice calling her home. She nods to you and runs across the street smiling. Her light steps carry her forward, but her eyes are looking elsewhere. But then a stone on the road catches her foot. She stumbles and falls flat into the dust. The street starts shaking from the thundering of hooves. Riders appear on the road from around the corner. They bear a coat of arms you recognize right away. A sable serpent blade upon a field of vert. It symbolizes the Melanitis dynasty, the family of your province's archduke. The horses dash forward. A lost wooden toy on the road cracks under their hooves. They will not slow down. They are the nobles, and the rest must make way for them. Sophia is in their way, just now starting to get back on her feet. Her mother is crying for her desperately from behind the fence door. You freeze in terror. The riders surely see the girl. Are they going to stop? Or are they going to trample her? In only a few moments, the beautiful girl will be toppled, trampled, and crushed. Willpower goes down. You die. I mean... Can't have two people die. Hey, sorry, Sophia. You stand frozen by the roadside, unable to look away as a cloud of dust covers the entire street. You feel as if a massive, maddened beast whipped into a merciless frenzy has just passed you by. You hear no screams, no cracking bones, nothing but the deafening din of the hooves. That's not good. Once the horses are gone and the dust settles, you can finally see the road again, and the repulsive blob of blood, flesh, and bone left on it. You can still see traces of Sophia in that mess. Her dark hair, the remains of her dress. But it is no longer her. Sophia's earthly remains slowly dissipate and melt into the air. Her mother's eyes are filled with grief as she watches. She hunches over and slowly walks back into the house. You can still hear the riders far away down the road. None of them even bothered to look back. Your friends walk away at a loss for words. You make your way home, dazed by what you have seen. You are still dazed as you retell these events to Mother, unable to look up from the floor. After a moment of silence, she embraces you and calms you down. Poor girl, what a terrible, painful death. But you must know that it was not her true death. By the twins' mercy, we are all given enough time in this world. Should you die before your time, you will be brought back by their grace. For 3 times, they will rescue you from a terrible fate. But the 4th death is true and final for all. Every loss of a life we were granted at our birth is a heavy blow to us. But the gods told us not to mourn a lesser death. Everybody will keep on living as though nothing has happened. Even Sophia's parents. You see Sophia by her house a few days late, and she looks completely fine, without so much as a scratch. The other children tell you that her parents now forbid her to leave the yard after dying such an early first death. You call out Sophia's name. She looks at you briefly, then walks back inside. We kind of, yeah, lost that chance. Sophia never talks to you again. Yeah. I've already died once, baby. Riders on the road. Sophia disappeared after the terrible incident with the horses. Her friends gossiped that her parents sent her off to serve a rich, noble dynasty. You haven't seen each other since that day, but you still remember Sophia's eyes, the sunlight shining in them. But no matter what, life goes on. You are 10 years old now. Your studies continue, and you are learning more about the land you live in. Anazat is an ancient city in an imperial province by the name of Magra. All soil in Magra was turned to ash aeons ago, scorched by magic during the rebellion of the Duke Chara Milanitis. I'm probably pronouncing all that wrong, I'm sorry. The magical arts are all but gone now, but the scorched earth has remained barren and infertile ever since. Since then, the entire province has lain barren, tormented by cold and scorching winds in equal measure, with few precious plants taking root on their own. All fertile land in Magra is bought elsewhere and brought here by an endless caravan of carts. To pay for food and soil, the cities of Magra became skilled in many trades, mostly mining and digging for metals and stone. Last fall, there was an explosion just outside the city, followed by clouds of thick smoke. The first such incident frightened the citizens, but then explosions and smoke became an everyday occurrence. Soon, everyone grew used to it. Father explains that the miners are using a new invention called gunpowder. It makes it easier for them to reach the precious stones and metals deep within the earth. Then one day, a thunderous explosion rocks the city, and black, billowing smoke covers the houses. People are stuck in their homes, all windows tightly shut. The air is impossible to breathe. Nathan coughs all the time. Gloria and you cough only when no one is watching. If Mother hears it, she'll make you inhale those hot verbal vapors. Hot herbal vapors just like Nathan. Verbal vapors. It takes 2 days for the black smoke to disperse. People pour out in the street to meet their friends. Tomas is eager to share everything he knows about this incident with you. There are many rumors. Some claim it was the work of a beast stirred from its hidden slumber, while others say it was surviving witches that continue to threaten the order and the empire with their accursed powers. But as for you, you patiently wait for Father to come back home, and then you'll ask him about it. Father spends day and night at work in the prefecture, while Mother spends all her time in prayer. It takes a full week for Father to finally come home, and he's almost completely spent. You muster enough courage during dinner to ask him what happened outside the city. Father raises his head, his face a bleak, weary mask, and starts muttering his proclamation. It's almost as if he doesn't see you. It's the mine outside the city. They were trying to get to a vein of ore. There was an explosion. The mine caved in, and the black smoke started flowing. Many workers died there. It was all because Count El Velasco, who owns the mines, wanted them to start mining that vein before they were ready. Some of the workers weren't even reborn. Perhaps the twins thought their final time had come. The prefecture has been inundated with complaints from families that have lost their breadwinners, asking the judges for help. Many people also lost their cattle to the black smoke. Count El Velasco blames gunpowder for the disaster. The prefecture and the press just repeat whatever he says, but it's plain old greed that's to blame. Noble or commoner, greed is the same. If the Count had spent a little more coin to survey the area, there would have been no explosion. Then, without warning, he grows silent again. You keep thinking about it for days. Can a human life really end so easily? A single moment of bad luck and you die, only to re-emerge from the temple or the family crypt with a new black mark on your arm. Or worse, you remain where you fell, dead, never to be reborn again, ever. Oh, looks like our older brother's back, huh? During lunch, Father tells you to stay home in the evening and prepare to meet some important guests. Your elder brother Stefan will return home by dinner tonight. Joining him will be your grandfather Gregor, as well as a noble friend of the family. You are excited about your brother's return. It has been years since you last saw him. How has he changed during his years away from home? You and Father await the guests anxiously. The doorbell rings. 3 people are standing outside. Grandfather is the first to come in, naturally. He has not changed a bit since his last visit, still eyeing the house with contempt, looking for any reason to demean it. Grandfather is followed by a stately young man dressed in a jacket embroidered in silver, whom you barely recognize as your brother. Stefan casts a glance at your threadbare clothes, your dirty fingernails, and smirks. The last to enter the house is a personable gentleman with a worn-out, wrinkled face. You've heard a lot about this man from Father and Grandfather. He is Baron Augustin Elborn, Stefan's uncle, a family friend and the province's prefect, which means that he is the head judge and thus Father's superior. Sir Elborn smiles lightly and offers you his hand. And this must be your younger son, Stephen, yes? You have your father's eyes, young man. Father bows slightly to Grandfather and Sir Elborn. But there's a moment of quiet when Stefan's turn comes. Father reaches out to him awkwardly, expecting an embrace. There's a question in Stefan's eyes as he looks at Grandfather. The old man shakes his head almost imperceptibly. We noblemen aren't put our emotions on public display, Father. Not even after a lengthy separation. There is no embrace. Instead, Stefan nods to Father curtly. He responds in kind, his face devoid of emotion. After the greeting, you proceed to the sitting room. Elborn is the first to enter. He kisses Mother's hand, and Gloria's too, and tussles Nathan's hair after he sees him hiding by the table. Grandfather acknowledges them with glum nod. Greetings, Lydia. I remember you were kind to me when I was but a child. And you must be Nathan. You could barely walk when I saw you last. Your elder brother ignores Gloria completely. Not even a greeting. You proceed to the dining room in a dignified manner and take your seats. The dishes smell delicious, but they merely punctuate the overwhelming tension at the table. Elborn is the only one with a friendly smile on his face. The dinner is splendid, Lydia. Did you choose the dishes yourself? You have a truly refined palate. It warms my heart to know Stefan spent his early years with you. Womanly care always does a child good, no matter the estate. It would do my grandson more good to stay at boarding school among his equals. Please, Gregor. Parenting is no less important. Nothing can replace a mother's love. I cannot deny it. It saddens me greatly that my late sister could not be there to raise Stefan. But there was still a family for him, and he was surrounded by love. How could that be bad? And besides, his father was by his side all the while. A father's example is always the best. After all, Robert earned the judge's rank the same way you did. Your grandson will surely follow in your footsteps, and who knows, perhaps even the younger men of the Brante family will contribute to the... You clumsy, low-born cretin. Everyone is startled by this sudden outburst. Grandfather's face turns red. He is glaring at a young lady servant holding a pitcher over a glass. Stefan is sitting right next to her, dabbing a napkin on a fresh stain on his jacket. Be gone this instant. The lady servant runs away, leaving the pitcher on a small table by the door. After a quiet moment, Elborn smiles again. It appears the servants have left us, yet dinner is far from over. Worry not, uncle. There are enough commoners at this table to keep us served with food and drink. Stefan glares at Gloria across the table. She is sitting right next to you. She shrinks down and hunches over under his gaze. Father furrows his brows. Mother covers her mouth with trembling hands. Grandfather sneers. Stefan's gaze does not move. The silence lasts far too long. Then she starts to rise from her chair. If the Brante gentleman so wish it. Your hands clench into fists under the table. How can he bring himself to humiliate his own family, his own mother and sister like this? It is all grandfather's doing. Stefan could not even bring himself to embrace father without his permission. And yet, they are noblemen, and they have the right to act this way. If there is any way this dinner can become even more unbearable, you do not want to see it. You deliberate for a moment, then take the napkin off your lap and rise to join Gloria. A moment later, you hear the sound of another chair moving. Your mother joins you. The three of you now refill glasses, serve food, and clear away dirty dishes. Sir Elborn tries to make small talk with father, but in vain, so he focuses his attention on grandfather and Stefan. Grandfather is pleased to inform him of Stefan's achievements at the boarding school, especially his exemplary sword-fighting skills. He constantly stresses the importance of your elder brother for the future of the family. You listen to him dispassionately as you continue serving new dishes to the table. As you wait at the nobleman's table, you, your sister, and mother never bump into each other. Your labor is impeccable. Grandfather could not have found fault with it even if he tried. When the guests finally leave, the three of you embrace each other with relief. Your shoulders and back are aching, but being a manservant inside your own house hurts even more. This is your reward for following your lot. She's a bastard child. hot, dry wind sweeps through the city from the barren lands around it. The noble residents of Anazat prefer to remain in the chambers, while the commoners huddle in tents or in the shade of the silver tree. You're on an errand right now. Your father wrote a letter to a noble acquaintance, and you are to deliver it. Tomas, the boy down the street, is tagging along. Aww. The two of you are inseparable now. The errand is an easy one, so you decide to take this opportunity to loiter around the part of Anazat where the nobles live. So here you are, in the middle of the city square, resting on the ancient brickwork by the old fountain in the merciful shade of the gargantuan silver tree. Tomas is by your side, lazily slouching on the edge of the fountain's basin. It's a hard life for commoners like you and me. Either you break your back in a workshop day and night, hoping someone will buy your goods someday, or you become a manservant to some noble. You never get a chance to enjoy life. This is our lot, you remind him. We work and endure and suffer. But Tomas waves your words away. Yeah, I know that already. Mother keeps drilling that stuff into me. We must be humble. Our strength is patience and persistence. So yeah, I say, but I want to make my fortune no matter what. So how ain't that living by my lot, I ask you? But the lots, they ain't easy. Let's take you, for example, Brante. Your father's a nobleman, but even if that didn't make you one, just look at your hands. You never had to work as hard as me, but we have the same lot. So we're supposed to suffer the same? Or look at your father. He's a judge. He toils at the prefecture day and night, doing his judging. And he's a noble? I've never seen an Arcanian work as hard as he does. You shrug. The Arcanians are a different race. The books say they were born to rule over humans. They are never commoners, always nobles of the sword by birth. They founded the empire after subduing all the human kingdoms on the continent. Humans will never be their equals. Arcanians are always better, smarter, stronger, and their skin is a noble shade of blue. If the books are to be believed, of course. You have never seen one yourself. Your idle chatter is suddenly interrupted by a rugged-looking guardsman dressed in black and green. He chases you away from the fountain. Common rabble like you have no place here. You hear the clattering of hooves and wheels against the cobblestones and see flags bearing a coat of arms. A sable serpent on a field of vert. It makes you squirm. It is the Archduke's coat of arms. The Milanitis dynasty. The carriage door opens, revealing a young lady in a luxurious dress. You cannot look away from her. Those dainty shoulders, suggested but not revealed by the cut of her dress. Her black hair cascading over them. Her stately, slim silhouette, her pouty lips and prim nose, and those eyes, dark like the night sky. The way she moves, fluidly, gracefully. And most incredible of all, her skin glows in azure blue. She is a masterpiece given life. She is Arcanian. Clear the way for me. The Milanitis guardsmen work quickly to clear the way to the fountain for the Arcanian lady. The searing sun dances on her skin in bizarre patterns. With one elegant motion, she reveals a handkerchief, then leans over the basin and wipes her head and neck with its cool water. Well, I'll be. That's Octavia Milanitis, our Archduke's own daughter. The Arcanian turns away and proceeds gracefully back to her carriage. You see something slip out of her hand and fall into the cobblestones right next to you. Her handkerchief. It is right there by your feet. Intricate craftsmanship, expensive woven fabric, delicately decorated with emerald filigree. Your heart skips a beat. Will you dare draw the beautiful Arcanian's attention in order to return her lost possession? Or would you rather not attempt to cross the chasm between you and her? You know, it's not mine to keep. It takes a moment to overcome your fear. You follow the young lady Milanitis and call her out in a nervous voice. She turns around, her beautiful face marred by a puzzled expression. You extend the dropped handkerchief towards her. Lady Octavia's face contorts into a sneer. She signs to the guardsman indifferently. A guardsman's gauntlet-clad hand slaps you in the face. It rings your head like a heavy bell. Your nose cracks obediently under its staggering force. The rest of you follow suit, and you fall prone. You can discern the guardsman's voice through the painful din of your ears. Should I take the handkerchief back, lady? After a commoner's hands have befouled it, let him wipe himself with it for all I care. Wow. Bia, bia. The carriage drives away. Tomas runs up to you and drags you back to the fountain. Your head is still ringing from the blow. The fateful handkerchief is still crumpled in your hand. Oh. Should have just kept the freaking thing. You are 12 years old now. You overhear an important conversation. It is a spring night, and Mother has just sent everyone to bed. You walk past Father's study and hear voices coming from beyond the door. Grandfather is yelling, and Father is replying quietly. The elder Brante men are fighting, arguing about the place of the commoners in the city. You sneak outside to avoid Mother's attention and hide next to the open window of the study. Perhaps they'll mention you too. That lowlife idiot had the gall to pay me a visit and beg me for some service. He had the insolence to ask me outright. He thought I was going to support his claim for the chairman's seat in the lesser quorum. How dare he? Father, please listen. Meyer Egmont may be lowborn, but he carries a lot of clout in Magra. He owns 5 iron mines. A friend like him could be quite useful, should he become the chairman of the lesser quorum. I don't give a damn who this Egmont is, Robert. What he is, however, is lowborn. His lot is humility and obedience. The likes of him can never rule anything. They're nothing but a flock of sheep that need a firm, noble hand to guide them. I wasted so many years trying to quash that quorum decree, but that accursed Cornelius Tempest did everything in his power to make the Emperor sign that pathetic screed. And now even lowlifes can wield power. True power, Robert. Just the right to discuss the size of the Archduke's tax. Nothing more. That's only the beginning. What's next? Are they going to arm the lowlifes now? Make them into judges? If the Empire rejects the foundations and the lots, the entire edifice will crumble. Bah, who am I telling this to? It is already crumbling, and you, my son and heir, are a harbinger of its destruction. Father, I am begging you. I do not wish to marry a third time. Lydia is a good wife and a dutiful mother to my children. If you would only allow her to, I will allow them nothing. Neither Egmont nor that freeloading wench of yours. What do you want me to next? Live by the laws of the lowborn? I can already see where this is going, and I'd rather run my own sword through my gut than live in a country where nobles and lowlifes share the same rights. My only dream is to see the name of Brante in the Blue Book. But that dream will never come true. They will never call me Venerable El Brante. And it's all because of this marriage of yours. My only hope now is to hear Stefan addressed in such a manner one day. Thank the twins I didn't let you ruin the boy. He's about to grow up a true nobleman. His children will bear the name of El Brante. You have 2 more grandsons. You hear grandfather's heavy footsteps, the thudding of his cane, and the slamming of the door. It's time to sneak back home before you're discovered. Ooh. Freaking school. School. You started studying at the school of Sir Tibor and began to master the sciences. Finally, the day comes when the teachers stop coming to the house. But before you can breathe a sigh of relief and put away the books, Father asks you to come to his study. You've grown, my son. It's time for you to continue your education away from home. I've chosen a deserving school for you, Sir Tibor's School for the children of noblemen and well-off commoners. Naturally, it is not a boarding school for nobles, so you will study there during the day and come home in the evening. You share the news with your best friend Tomas. Sir Tibor's school, eh? Yeah, I gotta ask my parents to send me there too, as soon as they get the coin together. Father says his workshop has toiled day and night for years to save up for my education. The school is based in an ancient estate of Arcane design. The classrooms are tall and spacious, with massive benches. The sounds of scraping quills and lectures on history and imperial law and theology echo under the vaulted ceilings. The rules are strict, the lessons tiring. Restless Tomas keeps getting distracted, and several times he gets his hand slapped with a stick for it. Every teacher demands flawless mastery of their subject. Every day Father asks you about your studies. You have already told him twice how Magra joined the Empire and how the nobles' court of honor is different from the commoners' civil court in the city prefecture. But father keeps pressuring you to work even harder. When it is time to go to bed, mother will not let you go to sleep until you recite a newly learned prayer for her. When it is time to go to school, you promise her every day that you will behave with great humility and steer clear of insolent behavior of any kind, for you still live by the commoner's lot, and that lot is hard work and suffering. Your first month in school draws to a close, and the teachers announce that there will be exams at the end of the month to determine the best and the worst students in each subject. Father insists you devote all your spare time to studying law and history if you wish to follow in his footsteps. But when you speak to mother every day, you start considering theology. You still remember the revelations and divine visions that came to you in your earliest years. There is a nagging thought on your mind. Tomas ended up in big trouble the other day. He got in a fight with several boys who live next street. They heard about your wooden fortress and got in an outrage by the fortification built by commoners. They swore to dismantle it tonight. Tomas swore he would defend the fortress until the end. Perhaps you should abandon the books to rescue the friend in need. But then you hear your little brother Nathan knocking at the door. He stands there shyly, not saying a word. How often does that, standing still and staying speechless until either of you speak first or he runs away? But this time, he actually says something. The door is locked. Are you okay, Stephen? Is there anything I can do to help? Your head is spinning. This is the last evening before the school exam. If you fail, your family will be very disappointed. You have to refresh your memory on law or theology. Either one or the other. But Tomas and your fort are about to be stormed. Why today, of all days? You grind your teeth in rage at the thought. Nathan is by the door trying not to bother you. He wants to help you the only way he can, for reasons known only to him. Will you accept his help? Well, that's what our dad told us to do. That's probably bad. That's what Mom would want us to do. We gotta do what our dad tells us, man, really. It's unfortunate. You push Nathan out of the room. He cannot possibly help you prepare for the exam. Soon your eyes start to hurt from all the legal terms and chronologies and titles of imperial edicts. You repeat everything, every single line of it, until your head hurts and your vision begins to blur. When Father walks in, he chuckles in approval. You fall asleep right there, amidst the books. The morning comes. You barely have the time to wake up before you are walking to the menacing edifice of the school. Time for law. All the students sit still, glued to their benches in terror. The teacher's voice singles you out. If a commoner insults a nobleman's honor, how ought he be dealt with according to imperial law? Bring the commoner to the prefecture, where the judge will sentence him to corporal punishment. And what if a noble takes a commoner's life by negligence or whim? The noble is fined by the provincial authorities. Surprising even yourself, you give the correct answers to these questions and the many more that follow. The next subject is the history of the Blessed Archnean Empire. You masterfully recount the history of every province as they merged with the Empire, from Monia to Magra. Then you recite the names of every tempest who has ruled the Empire. You conquer every question the teacher asks you without confusing a single date. You get the highest grade in law and history and an average grade in theology. You relay the teacher's praise to Father over dinner. He smiles, pleased with you. Well done, my son. I can see how hard you have been working. Keep at it and you will be among the Empire's greatest servants. I am proud of you. Oh. Or no, okay, that's good. Hey. Your education continues. As you study imperial law, you come to realize that there is a certain hierarchy even within the noble estate. It seems your father's status is not quite equal to that of the more eminent human and Archnean gentry. You return home with this new information at your disposal. Father asks you about school after dinner, as he always does. And what is the difference between nobles of the mantle and those of the sword, Stephen? You already have an answer ready. The latter status is hereditary, meaning that it is passed down from father to son. After the Archneans, nobles of the sword are the most eminent humans in the Empire. They own land and estates. They fill offices of the highest ranks, and the names of their bloodlines are preserved within the Great Blue Book. Nobility of the sword can only be granted only by the overseer of the province or the emperor himself. And how are such eminent people addressed? With the honorific L before their last name, you respond. Sir Augustin L. Bourne, for example. Father pats you on the shoulder, clearly pleased. And what about the Archneans and their status? What have you learned about them? The Archneans stand above all human gentry. They are born to rule over humans regardless of their titles. No L is required when addressing them. They need no honorifics, for the names of their ancient dynasties are known to all. Father nods somberly. Yes, we can never be their equals. Do whatever an Archnean tells you, and never defy them. Ever. And what about grandfather and me? Where do we stand as nobles? That is easy. Father and grandfather are nobles of the mantle. This title cannot be inherited, but is earned by any commoner as a reward for great service to the Empire in the Legion or as a civil servant. Father suddenly grows quiet and looks you in the eye intently. Yes, and someday you will earn a noble title too, son. In time. Sir Tibor's school teaches children of all stripes. Nobles of the mantle and low-born parents can send their sons here. And every passing day, the children of noblemen invent new ways to snub and bully the commoners. Most of the time, the bully leading them is Diedrich. Hey, the son of the secretary for the Imperial Chancellery and a self-important slob. The sons of noblemen never pick on you, however. They know that your father has been ennobled by the mantle. However, Diederik and his retinue soon choose Tomas as their favorite victim. Time and time again you ask your friend not to pay them any mind, but again and again Tomas grows angry and snaps at their self-satisfied mockery. It is early morning. The students are busy flocking to the classroom for the next lesson. You wave Tomas over when you see him. He waves back at you, and then a bucket full of slop splashes on him. Needless to say, it is the work of Diederik and his entourage. You hear his familiar creaky laughter. The tailor's son stinks. How dare he sit next to decent folk? Tomas clenches his fist. He throws himself at Diederik's haughty entourage like a soldier ready to wage war. He attacks them first. This is just what they expected, and they are free to retaliate. He barely makes one movement before 4 pairs of hands grab him at once. Diederik sneers and kicks your friend in the belly. Tomas gasps for air and starts coughing. You stand between them as Diederik readies another kick. The nobleman's son cocks an eyebrow. Why do you mingle with commoners, he asks. Your father is a noble of the mantle. You ought to be friends with your own kind, your equals, not the dirt beneath your feet. Behind him, 4 boys hold Tomas down as he struggles furiously. The other students are watching you, frozen in fear. Diederik haughtily extends a hand to you. He clearly expects you to shake it. Ingenuity. What is the, our family reputation and fathers will go up. Tomas will be at 0. But I'm still a commoner. I have... Hey! You make a speech, not to the lead bully himself, but rather to his retinue. How come Diederik sees himself fit to instigate fights? His family may be higher in rank, but, like everyone else here, he has yet to take the nobleman's sacrament himself. The nobleman's lot is not yet his, so he is not yet fit to fight or rule, nor are any of you. The twin gods are ever watching over us. You add, and they are ever vigilant. Do you dare defy their will? Diederik tries to retort. They've broken no laws, he says. All they've done is teach commoners the meaning of suffering. You call upon the knowledge gained from your theology lessons and easily pick his argument apart. Every man's first duty is to follow his lot, and Diederik and his friends lack the humility to accept that they are not yet true nobles. The hands holding Tomas down grow weak. There is a whisper among the students around you. You're right. The twins are always watching how we follow the lots. Diederik's retinue quickly dissolves into embarrassment. He furiously orders them to come back and join his cause, but his exhortations are all in vain. The other boys are clearly impressed by your words. The noble children will think twice before acting out again. That's pretty sweet looking. Your theology teachers tell you more about Anazat. It is more than just a provincial capital. It is also a sacred place, blessed by the gods. It is where the twin gods' first disciples spilled their blood, and from that blood grew the sacred silver tree. Like a redwood, its enormous foliage hangs over the city. You see its branches in the sky every day, but you have never approached the trunk of the tree yourself. Today, you will be taking your first trip to the silver tree. Your class is visiting a service in the great temple by the tree's very roots. Thanks to your theology teacher, you and the other students will witness this landmark of the twins' advent up close. Everybody is excited. Soon, you and the other boys enter the slums surrounding the church district of Anazat. The roots are pulsating under your feet. They spread underground all throughout the area. Pathetic, cramped hovels and filthy streets surround the trunk of the tree. They are home to paupers, day laborers, and preachers. The people of the district bow humbly to you and point you toward the temple. They seem at peace despite their abject poverty in which they live. All who live directly beneath the tree are filled with its divine grace, your teacher says. People come here to make peace with the world and their fate in it. Your class is unusually quiet. Everyone is listening to the rustling of the leaves and the underground beating of the roots. The sky above you is obscured by the tree's canopy. You find the temple of the twin gods right next to the tremendous trunk of the tree. It almost seems a part of it. There is a crowd there, pilgrims dressed in traveling clothes, paupers and beggars, common people of the city, and the occasional well-dressed noble. There are arguments among some people who are gathered in separate small groups. Many people are wandering around, staring upward at the tree's branches. The tree impresses you with its might and the calm emanating from it. You are filled with a desire to sit down and think of the world, to learn something about yourself, to touch the silver white bark and hearken to the whispering leaves. You are distracted enough to fall back from the rest of your classmates. You notice a small path. It should take you right next to the trunk. A tall, red-haired woman walks out of the crowd of pilgrims. She is wearing a worn white robe. She is no longer young, but her face is youthful and covered in freckles. Her hands clutch a book. You have never seen this lady pilgrim before, yet she looks at you almost as she is recognized a lifelong friend. She beckons to you and says her name, Mathilde, a preacher from Astinia. What she says next shakes you to your very core. It is commendable to see a young man so keen to learn the teaching of the twins, she says. Yet you will never follow the light of truth within the walls of the temple. Inside you only find the lies about the lots, the erring words of Prophet Isaias sanctified by the passage of centuries. Yet anyone who sets out to read the accounts of the twins' own lives knows that they never so much as mentioned the lots. The red-haired preacher's words frighten you. They clash with everything you have heard from Mother, everything you have been taught in school. The lots are a lie. You freeze in fear. Should you argue with Mathilde or ask her for more information? Or should you treat her as a madwoman and catch up with your classmates? You suddenly feel a small, warm hand grasp your own. You see a girl right next to you. She is just a little older than you, wearing a black dress, threadbare yet almost spotless. Her hair is covered by a handkerchief with only a single golden lock showing. Her brown eyes are burning with rage, her hand pulling you away from the red-haired preacher. You stare in confusion at the strange young girl, your cheeks flushed by the sudden touch. There is just a bit of color on her cheeks too, but then she starts speaking to you quickly. Don't listen to her, she's dangerous. Come to the temple with me. Only there will you see the truth. You stand there, surrounded by the crowd of praying pilgrims and the sounds of shuffling feet, torn between two people you have never seen before. And each of them expects you to follow her. But all the while you hear the whispering of the wind in the tree's branches. The branches reach out for you, almost as if the tree wishes to speak to you itself. Can you hear its voice? How was I supposed to get insight, baby? Follow the girl into the temple, stay with the red-haired pilgrim, leave them, and approach the tree. You know. I don't know that I'm going to go with that red-haired lady. Although, we could use some spirituality, I'm sure. Destiny. Okay. Well, we won't approach the tree. I don't know what those symbols mean. Huh. We did not save Sophia. Last chance. Hey. searcher. Follow the girl. You turn your back on the suspicious preacher and follow the girl inside. She introduces herself to you along the way. Her name is Jean. The temple is filled with light. It is separated into two halves, just like the temple in your district. One for the commoners and one for the nobles. Yet this temple is far more grand than that one. You see two towering statues by the altar, carved with impeccable detail. They depict the twins. The elder bears an empathetic smile, and the younger has a stern look about him. They are depicted in the garments of pilgrims, frozen in their eternal journey to meet one another. My uncle is one of the priests in this temple. I'm an acolyte. I work in the temple. I help him clean the temple and cook food for the poor. And I also greet the worshippers. People come here all the time. Many are lost and they don't know where to go once they're inside. But nobody should feel lost in this place. The temple is for all the estates. Of course I am. This is where I belong, inside the temple. I feel the twins watch over me all the time. When I'm with them, I'm never afraid, never sad. She looks at the statues when she mentions the twins and smiles at them as if they are her close friends. Do you feel it too? You, too, turn your eyes to face the twin gods. You feel the eyes of the elder upon you. They feel warm, warm like mother's loving words. You feel virtue and order in the eyes of the younger. They feel like father's words of pride and respect. I knew it. I knew you could feel it. It's so easy when you're in the temple. But they watch over us all the time, you know? Just pray from your heart and remember how it feels all the time. Even back home. Even on a long, long journey. Jean's voice is clear and insistent. As you listen to her, you just barely touch the palm of your hand that held hers a moment ago. Maybe it's just a delusion, but that hand feels warmer now. You keep looking back at the tree all the way home. But it's not the tree you see. You see Jean's brown eyes, filled with inscrutable wisdom. Another day of school has ended. You are making your way home, still mulling over the things you learned from your teachers. The founding of the empire, the eternal and unshakable rule of a single dynasty. The three estates, each with its own rights. What an odd sort of order the world has, and yet so mysterious. At least it sounds that way when your teachers talk about it. Mother is waiting for you on the porch. She smiles gently when she sees you, and yet her expression still shows great concern. Father left on a trip to several distant Magran towns a few days ago. Since then, Mother has been trying to tell you something, but she seems uncertain. Son, could you put your things away and come pray with me? You join Mother in a prayer to the twins. She prays with fervent sincerity, her head bowed low, bowed low, bowed low, bowed low, bowed low, reciting the words of obedience to them and their greater design in a barely audible whisper. You repeat after her, just as she taught you ever since you were a little boy. When the prayer ends, Mother sighs and turns to you. Stephen, my son, you are 13 now. You'll be grown soon. It's time you learned about certain things that are important to our family. Difficult things. It's about your father and me. About our marriage. You gaze curiously into Mother's eyes. I'm sure you've wondered about this before. Your father is a nobleman of the mantle, so how could he marry a commoner with another man's child? But you see, Stephen, your father, when his first wife, Amelia Elborn, died, it was a painful blow to him. He lost the will to live, lost all purpose. He felt like his own destiny was cut short that day as well. And then he met me. You know the troubles I had in the past. I went to the prefecture as a petitioner to ask them for help, protection, justice. When I was a young girl, I worked at a small shop that sold crockery and dishes. A nobleman took a liking to me. May his name be forever forgotten. The twins know I was humble and honored his lot to rule. But he took me by force. Mother falls silent, summoning the courage to continue. Gloria is that nobleman's daughter. But he was outraged. How could I have the gall to burden him with a low-born progeny? He turned me out on the street with that little baby girl in my arms. Mother's voice is shaking now. You take her hand tenderly. I had no home, no honor, nowhere to go. No one to help me. When I went to the prefecture, I didn't really think the judges there would help me find justice against my former master. But when Sir Robert heard my plea, his eyes met mine, and I believe that, at that very moment, the twins themselves granted him the gift of their love. Your father told me that there was nothing he could do to make that detestable nobleman marry me, but he would never abandon me and baby Gloria. And if I agreed, he would take me into his own home. Tears are running down Mother's cheeks. And I knew it, my son. I knew how much his honor and reputation would suffer. But caring for me brought him back to life. It's like he experienced another sacrament. He rediscovered his noble purpose, his lot to rule and protect and care for others. But his decision to marry me, he is still paying for it today. Your father had the courage to defy your grandfather, the founder of his bloodline. If only you knew how much he had to endure, my son. If only you knew the despicable rumors that we heard about the Brantes all over Anazat. It was only thanks to the efforts of Sir Gregor that the Brante bloodline managed to hang on to what little remained of its reputation. And now the noble families have all but forgotten about that scandal, thank the twins. Mother falls silent. She looks at you intently. Do you understand what she is telling you? My son, I'm not telling you this just to share the pain of my past. I have no reason to complain. Even Sir Gregor has accepted me through gritted teeth. But you need to understand the heavy burden our family must bear, including our scandalous marriage and Gloria's fell origin. Mother sighs heavily. What I told you just now is something you have to know, son. You're about to enter adult life. By my lot, I must be humble. I cannot tell you how to treat your family. But may I ask you a question? Now that you know all of this, do you still see Gloria as your sister? Yeah. Ooh. Filled with determination, you assure her mother and that Gloria is and always will be your sister. You want Gloria to be a Brante too. You want her to be a part of your family. Who cares what the nobles of Anazat say? Mother beams with quiet joy when she hears this. Oh, Stephen, if only you knew how happy that would make me to have our family united at last. However, the joy on her face quickly gives way to concern. But I already owe Sir Robert a debt I can never repay. He's given my daughter so much, a home, an education, his care, and advice. The Brante bloodline could suffer so much from Gloria's existence. We should all just learn to accept her status as it is. Just then, you hear Gloria carefully knock at the door of Mother's chambers. Mother, Stephen, I couldn't find you. Oh. You happily greet your sister. Yes, she is your sister. No old secrets can ever change that. Mother gives you and Gloria a kiss on the forehead and returns to her prayers. You and your sister walk downstairs together. Mother is alone by her bedside now, thanking the twins with a quiet prayer for the Brante family they have given her. You hope they can hear her. Bum, 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 bum. You are 13 now. Another theology lesson. Today's sermon is about the priest and why the clergy is the only one of the three estates with the right to interpret the lots and guide the other two estates accordingly. Tomas sits next to you, huffing and puffing as he fervently writes down the teacher's every word. But you've heard all this from Mother many times before, so you take this moment to daydream a little. Father promised to take you to the capital once your studies are complete. But the teacher suddenly casts a stern look around the lecture hall and raises his voice at one of your classmates. A boy by the name of Brian jumps out of his seat. The teacher asks him to repeat what he has just said. Brian freezes and seems to shrink. He tries to muster a reply, but nothing comes out. The class becomes agitated. Someone is about to get punished. The teacher now looms over Brian. The boy's cheeks are flushed and his eyes are covered in tears. You all watch the teacher's iron-bound book as he raises it sharply, about to strike. Brian shrieks and raises a hand in front of him. A sudden flash. The teacher screams and buries his face in his arms. His hair is ablaze, and his skin is covered in horrible burns. It's magic. Real magic, just like in the books about the Magra Rebellion. The class freezes in shock. There is a dull thud as the iron-bound book falls to the floor. The screams grow louder as the fire howls. Brian's face is tense and violent. His mouth is spewing flames and his whole body is shaking with laughter. He steps toward the door. You and Tomas glance on each other. He's going to burn the whole school down. Your friends' determination make you brave. You run behind Brian and knock him off his feet. You both tumble to the floor, even though his clothes, his body, sears your flesh. Brian screams, convulses, and grabs Tomas by the shoulders with his burning hands. Tomas howls but stays put, then knocks Brian senseless with several fierce blows to the head. Jeez. There are servants fussing around the room now. They put out the fire and take away the teacher, his body covered in horrible burns. You and Tomas remain next to Brian, who is lying on the floor silent. Soon, 3 men in black cloaks enter the doors of the school, each bearing an edict sealed with silver. The Inquisition. You and Tomas are told to step away from the witch. They lock Brian's neck in a silver collar and take him away. One of the Inquisitors remains behind to tell the students what happened. That was magic, he explains. The ungodly power that twists the minds of men into savage instruments of murder. Only the sacred shackles of silver can hold it at bay. Only the power of the twins can save us all from its evil grasp. The next day you are forbidden from ever mentioning Brian's name again. He is no more. Today is a great day. Exactly 400 years ago, the twins blessed this newly found empire and anointed the Archean Tempest dynasty to rule over it. This day, the Day of Anointment, is now celebrated every year. The school is closed for 2 weeks in honor of the holiday. On one of these evenings, Father tells everyone that Grandfather is going to bring Stefan back home for the holiday. They say families should celebrate the Day of Anointment together. You could benefit from your elder brother's company. With his noble education, Stefan might be able to teach you how noblemen are supposed to act. Soon Stefan arrives. He now handles himself differently. When it comes to ordering servants around and ignoring Gloria, he is still Grandfather's double, but he is more grown up now and far less haughty to you. It is a dark winter evening. A damp, cold wind sweeps through the city from the barren lands of Magra. You and Stefan are sitting in the library. He's telling you all about Eterna, the capital of the Empire. It is full of so many wonders: the Imperial Palace, the enormous Temple of the Twins, the Military Academy, the Imperial College. You've read so much about these places, yet he has seen them firsthand. Nathan enters the library. He looks concerned. I can't find Gloria. I looked everywhere. She's not in the attic, not in the sitting room, not in the kitchen. I heard she wanted to sneak off to the ruins of Shar Milanitis' palace. She could be lost in there. You and Stefan exchange looks. Shar Milanitis, the rebellious duke. The ruins of his palace are a dangerous place. Some children claim his tainted magic still lingers there, which means you absolutely have to make your way there and back again to prove you are not afraid of the long-dead witch. Your brother tells you to wait. He leaves and soon returns with his sword in his sheath. Get ready, Stephen. We're going to rescue Gloria. She must have gone to the ruins in search of inspiration for another one of her little rhymes. The two of you instruct Nathan to tell your parents you've gone for a walk in the square. You and your elder brother head outside. You are confused by Stefan's actions. He refuses to treat Gloria like a human being, so why is he still so determined to rescue her? Stefan notices your expression. Are you wondering why I care about Gloria all of a sudden? I can't act in any other way, can I? The law of honor compels me to protect the family. Gloria will never be a Brante, but Father still took her into our house. I must respect his seniority and defend Gloria like she is one of our own. You are a Brante too, noble or not, which means it is your duty to aid me. The ruins of Shar Milonitis' palace span an entire district. The palace was abandoned centuries ago, and its remnants are overgrown with thick underbrush. The ruined palace is empty, nothing but cold wind blowing over crumbling brickwork. Even the worst scum of the land steer clear of this place. You make your way through the ruins until you spot scattered sheets of paper covered in writing. Your sister's writing. You hear loud laughter coming from behind a dilapidated stone wall nearby. You pull yourself up to peer over it. Gloria is lying on the ground face down, twitching and sobbing. A gaggle of drunk young thugs surround her, cackling and swinging their arms about. You hear their shouts. Look at this lass, sitting here rhyming words together. She thinks she's all noble, but don't you worry, you low-born tart. We're gonna teach you your place. One of the louts spits at Gloria as she lies there. Get away from her this instant, you bastards, or I'll spill your guts. They respond with mocking laughter. Stefan draws his sword. The street thugs recoil in fear, but they soon notice that he is only one armed man against many. They start reaching out for sticks and stones. Stand by my side. Don't let them flank me. Hey! I don't really want to lose willpower. But he said to follow our brother's orders. Our willpower's gone down a bit. Stefan's firm voice fills you with confidence. You follow your noble brother's orders. It takes a moment to grab a stick, and then you are at Stefan's back, angrily swinging at the louts as they try to bring him down. One of the louts lunges at your brother with a stone, but you hit him with the stick, and he falls down right at Stefan's feet. His sword flashes. The blade sinks deep into the young man's stomach. He wheezes. Blood starts pouring onto the ground. The thugs freeze. Stefan pulls the sword out, his face an inscrutable mask, and returns to his fighting stance. Lowborn scum, that's all you are. This is the only language you understand. Good job, brother. Gloria, get up. We're going home. He turns to glance at your sister, giving the enraged thugs just enough time to rush you. You get separated from Stefan. Your back is against the wall now. They hit you hard in the stomach, then the face, then the side of the head. Then your mind slips away. When the darkness disperses, you find yourself lying in your bed. Stefan is in the armchair next to you reading a book. He is alive, with left arm in a sling and a black eye, but still alive. Your head is spinning and you feel nauseous. You try your best to sit up. Stefan looks up from the book. Don't try to get up. You lost a lot of blood. I suppose that was a few thugs too many for a single warrior, even with good backup. I think about it often. A noble mustn't act weak. A noble mustn't suffer like people of the lowborn lot. A noble must rule over them wisely. A noble must ensure that they have work to do. It's not merely your own lot that you have to look after. You have to ensure that 1,000 others can live by their lot as well. And there are so many more matters to take care of. Honor, dignity, tradition. It's tough, but it's what it takes to be a nobleman. Do you understand what I'm talking about? There is approval in your brother's eyes for the first time in a long while. It was a pleasure to fight side by side, brother. Before long, the entire city hears how a gang of lowborn thugs assaulted Stefan Brante. Grandfather ensures that the brash young men are found. Some of them are taken into custody as soon as lesser death releases them. Grandfather seeks vengeance on those who hurt his favorite grandson. Prefect Elborn, a friend of your family, promises to personally oversee the trial and ensure that justice is served. Your words are true, my son. Their law is second to none. Yet the twin gods also made the empire and all its ways. The court of law exists to execute the laws of heaven here in the world. Should the court of law sentence a person to death, the law high above will always enforce it. And so every execution brings true death. The commoners who assaulted Stefan, a born nobleman, have committed a grave offense. There's no doubt about that. And yet, according to the Emperor's decree, even commoners have the right to defend themselves when they are about to face true death. This means that all of us will have to appear at the trial and testify before the court. Evening comes. Gloria visits your room. She looks crestfallen, and her fingers keep reaching for her long hair. You put away your school books and ask what is bothering her. The trial is tomorrow. I thought I was going to appear there too as an eyewitness. After all, this whole mess started because of me. But Sir Robert isn't even going to mention that I was there. Can you imagine? He says it would ruin the case. Gloria tries her best to hold back the tears. You do your best to comfort her. Father just needs to keep the family out of trouble. If Sir Robert believes that I only bring trouble, why did he take me into the house at all? Gloria runs away. You return to your books, but you can't help but get lost in thought. What if they told the court you weren't there either? How would you feel then? There's a knock at the door. It is Father. He closes the door behind him and sits next to you. There's an exhausted look about him. Gloria will cast suspicion upon the case. If we mention her very existence to the court, the reputation of the family will suffer. Your grandfather will never forgive me if that happens. Don't let me down. We're all counting on you. But if you do what Father tells you, the trial will end quickly. Those commoners will face true death for assaulting a noble. If you mention Gloria, things will get complicated, and you cannot predict how the trial will end. Which is more important to you, what is right or what is just? I don't know what those symbols mean. I can't keep losing all that freaking willpower. But our nobility and spirituality go up. I'm gonna convince Father to change his mind. It's probably bad. You look Father straight in the eye and tell him what you think. You're not going to bear false witness in court. He is a judge himself. How can he make you lie to Sir Elborn? And what of Gloria? Is she not a Brante too? Does she not deserve justice? Or maybe Grandfather is right, and she is just a freeloader who deserves nothing but shame. If so, then how come Father agreed to take her into his home and under his protection? Saying this to Father is tough. Deep inside you pray he hears no weakness in your voice and sees no blood rushing to your cheeks. But it seems he is listening to you intently. The wrinkles on his forehead grow deeper as his fingers stammer out a staccato against the armrest. This is going to be tough, son, but you're right. You are right. I took Gloria into my home, and so I must protect her like my own daughter. This was my decision, and I must stand by it. I will speak with Stefan in the morning. Now I pray your grandfather never hears of my change of heart. The day comes. The trial takes place in the lesser hall of the city prefecture. Sir Elborn himself presides as the judge. You are the first to testify to the court. You tell the court the truth about that night. How the thugs humiliated Gloria, how Stefan and you came to help her, and how Stefan defended his half-sister. Out of the corner of your eye, you watch Grandfather's face grow red, yet he remains silent. There are confused whispers in the hall. The commoners on trial cry out. It's the truth. Gloria was reciting poetry, and they simply told her she was defying her lot. The situation has changed. By this account, Stefan was not acting in defense of himself or another. He merely assaulted them first in order to retaliate against those who insulted his half-sister. You spread your feet to stand firm and inhale before you speak next. You ask the hall, is it not a nobleman's duty to honor his family's name? Gloria does not have the Brante name, but your father took her into his home. Therefore, it was Stefan's duty to protect her, as he would have protected any of you. Contemptuous chuckles rushed through the courtroom. You have just reminded the city of father's shameful second marriage. Stefan is to testify next. He reluctantly confirms your testimony, glancing at father and grandfather all the while. His arm in the sling is his main argument. Stefan wanted the commoners to stop insulting Gloria, yet in the end, the commoners were the first to assault him. After a short recess, Sir Elborn returns and rises to deliver his sentence. The court of Anazat finds you guilty of assaulting Stefan Brante, a nobleman who stood in defense of the honor of Gloria, a member of his household. All 4 defendants are sentenced to final death by hanging. There is no wind, but you feel a gust sweep through the hall. The defendants turn pale. Their mothers are bawling and crying. Everybody in the court feels the dreadful power of the law, and it is stern and just. That very power has been invoked by this sentence, and by that very sentence, the lives of the 4 young men are literally forfeit for all eternity. I don't know why it's skipping so fast. The gallows await. Stefan stands in the front row. Father stands next to him. The wood creaks. The trapdoors open under the young men's feet. They dangle in the air, wheezing and reaching out for support with their feet in their final moments. Grandfather's silence ends at home. He screams at you and father. And Gloria, this trial is a disgrace. His screams are punctuated by the thudding of his walking stick against the floor. Father says they had to defend the family. It would have been truly been a disgrace if they had shirked their responsibilities. Stefan excuses himself to bandage his arm in order to stay out of the argument. Gloria is quiet but glowing. You stay quiet too. It is all over now. Nobody bullies Gloria on the streets anymore. Those 4 commoners are dead forever. Their families were taught a cruel lesson. So will it be with anyone who dares to raise his hand against a nobleman. Dude. Stefan leaves soon after the trial, alone. Grandfather does not go with him. For the first time in a long while, he lingers in the house for more than a fortnight. Father says Sir Gregor is ill and needs rest. Several months go by, and it becomes clear that grandfather will not recover. The eldest Brante is mostly bedridden now. On some days, he has trouble recognizing people. When he means to address you or Nathan, he calls you Robert, your father's name. But when he does get out of bed, the house grows empty. The servants hide. Mother locks herself in her chambers. You and Nathan run outside or hide quietly in your rooms. If grandfather sees anyone in the hallway, he begins lamenting. Oh, nobody heeds the lots any longer. Any harlot with a child can marry a nobleman these days. Children have no respect. His son betrayed him and let him down. And oh, how the Brante family has lost its honor. Again and again you hear grandfather knocking at mother's door, screaming that it's all her fault. He blames her for ruining his chances to find bliss in the hereafter. He blames her for dooming him to suffer at the foot of the pillar. You overhear your parents talking one night. Mother begs father to move Sir Gregor to his old home and spare the children his decline. Father refuses her outright. It's late at night. The hot, dry winds are coming. The house is empty save for you, Nathan, Gloria, Mother, and grandfather in his bed. Father has left for the capital on business. You are engrossed in the history of the Empire, snapping out of your reverie only when the clock strikes midnight. You blow out the candle and get ready for bed. You hear the shuffling of heavy feet outside your door. You see light in the hallway. Grandfather, what could he want in the middle of the night? In the middle of the night. You peek into the hallway once he has passed. Grandfather's figure sways as he heads for the door to Mother's chambers. He opens the door and walks in. You hear him saying something quietly. Your unease is stronger than your fear now. You sneak closer to hear his words. You foul commoner, I have to cleanse my sins. I have to save my soul. You are my greatest sin, you and what you have done to Robert and this family. I should have put a stop to this marriage. I should have stopped Robert from tainting this house by your presence. Why, oh why didn't I do it? Please, Sir Brante, I beg of you. Silence, you will do my bidding. Fire will cleanse all low-born filth from this place. Fire and flame will free Robert from this disgrace. This is for my son's sake, for my son's sake, for my sake. I need to eradicate this low-born filth. The twins, they are calling for me now. I can feel it. I can feel it. I beg of you, please have mercy. Mother begins to cry. You run into the room, unable to stay out of this any longer. Grandfather's gaunt figure looms over Mother's bed, a lit oil lamp in his hand. Mother is sprawled out on the bed crying. Please, just let me warn the children. I beg you, Sir Brante. Your steps are loud enough to be heard. Grandfather turns to look at you. Stay out of this, Stephen. Be useful for once. Worldly matters concern me no longer. I see only my sins now, and a sinner I am. A sinner. The twins, they forgive no one. They will judge me by the pillar. I must do something. I don't want to suffer for all eternity. Go away. Mother is crying. Grandfather is still looming over the bed, driven to madness. His hand shakes as it clutches the oil lamp. His eyes shine in the dark. He truly believes that this has to be done. You are suddenly torn. What if he is right? What if the only way for his soul to find salvation? There's no going back now. You have but a moment to act. Dude, that willpower going down is not good. I mean, I don't care about how grandfather feels about me. I don't want to die again. Stop, grandfather. You look at grandfather defiantly and step towards him. He stares you down with rage and throws the oil lamp at the floor. You manage to catch it, but just barely. Several drops of hot oil hit the rug. Not nearly enough to start a fire. The lamp's glass is blistering hot. It burns your hands, but you still hold on to it safely. You low-born scum. You ruined everything. You're every bit like your mother, you. Enraged, he takes a swing, and you squeeze your eyes shut. But he does not hit you. Instead, there's a deep exhalation. You peek at him with one eye, just in time to see him collapse, all his strength fading away. His chest is heaving, his face a grimace of contempt. Oh, grimace. Another heavy exhalation. The contempt is gone. There is only fear now. Grandfather's eyes open wide, almost in surprise. He exhales. Mother is there, whispering a prayer. She is shaking violently. You put the oil lamp gently on the bedside table and call for the servants. They carry the body away. It does not disappear. True death has found him. He will never return. You spend the rest of the night with Mother in the sitting room. She will not let go of your hand. For many, many nights afterward, she keeps seeing Grandfather's shadow out of the corner of her eye. Father returns from Eterna the morning after. He is unusually composed as he arranges for the funeral. The house becomes quiet, not the looming heavy sort of quiet of the past few months, but the calm relief you all feel now that the crazed old man is no more. At last, Gregor Brante, the family's patriarch, has departed for the hereafter. That willpower, man, I had that at 30. Your grandfather, Sir Gregor Brante, left this world forever to meet the twin gods. Water's so good. The night of grandfather's death shook your family to the core. Yet no matter how it happened, your grandfather, Gregor Brante, is dead and will never return. He was a fearful shadow looming over the rest of the family, the Brante patriarch exerting his influence on all the lives below him, and all of you will remember him forever. Father is the new patriarch of the family now, yet he still cannot bring himself to sit at the head of the table where Sir Gregor used to preside. Stefan locks himself away in grandfather's bedroom every day. He will not talk to anyone. Gloria and Nathan still jump at every sound that so much as resembles the knocking of his walking stick. Mother spends all day in prayer at the temple. The day comes to pay your final respects. Father goes to the tomb alone, save for Stefan, Nathan, and you. Mother and Gloria stay at home. Only nobles, or those who may become nobles, may join this ritual. There is a solemn silence as you walk to the crypt. Father is the one who breaks this silence when you finally reach the door of the family crypt. Your grandfather built this crypt, and now he will be the first Brante to remain here in body forever. The first ever noble in our family. It is our duty now to hold the sacrament of flowing blood for Sir Gregor. We will honor his legacy and join him as the founder of the noble Brante dynasty. Stefan perks up at father's words. His hands still clutch grandfather's sword. Tradition decrees that it must remain in the niche above the owner's sarcophagus. Nathan, on the other hand, looks even more frightened now. Stairs carved of white stone lead you downward. Deep in the gloom of the crypt atop a pedestal, you see the sarcophagus that holds grandfather's body. Father takes a moment to compose himself before paying his final respects. Gregor Brante, my father, brought our family into nobility through his unshakable will. He was a judge and a loyal servant to the empire. He lived his life as if he had been born a noble, and he never strayed from the path he had chosen. He sought to make the Brante family ennobled by the sword, so that our children's children might be of noble birth. The twins know I abided by my father's words all my life, even if I could not obey him every time. Father lets of a bitter chuckle as he says this. Stefan glares at father, then turns to glare at Nathan and you. After all, the two of you were born of father's shameful decision to marry a commoner. All of you remember his disastrous passing. He did not die the true death he deserved. Yet we all must know that he fought for the future he believed in to the very end. And he would be proud to see his family bid him farewell with the sacrament of the nobility. Stefan still glares at father sullenly. His fingers remain clutched around grandfather's sword. Nathan barely pays attention to the words. He looks around with unease, his arms folded across his chest. Watch me carefully, my sons. Make a small cut on the palm of your hand and let your blood flow into this duct on the wall of the crypt. It will join your grandfather's blood here and flow forever. Then ancestor and progeny will become as one. We shall enter our family's blood tide and receive grandfather's final blessing. For his blood flows first in our blood tide. He will respond to you. You are part of him, and he is part of you. The dagger's handle feels warm. You hesitate for a moment as you look at the palm of your hand. If you participate in this ritual, you will enter the Brante blood tide. You, a lowborn child, a child who is still a commoner. Are you ready to claim your legacy as a descendant of the nobleman Gregor Brante? The eyes of your father and brothers are upon you. Nathan, the youngest brother, will follow your example. You can be certain of this. Brother and father. Father. You know what I mean? I gotta get that willpower back up. Oh, hey, I have to give it back. Hey, I can't even do the, Wow. You return the dagger to father and say you cannot participate in the ritual. You are a commoner and your back bears the mark of the lash. Grandfather would have never let you honor his name as a nobleman. Nathan nods in agreement. You do not deserve this honor. Father furrows his brow and shakes his head. Stefan, help me close the lid of the sarcophagus. And remember to ask grandfather for his blessing. And as for you two, it seems you weren't ready to walk the nobleman's path after all. You're right, son. Your grandfather would never have allowed it. The lid of the sarcophagus falls into place with a heavy, resonant thud. Then, suddenly, you all freeze as each of you hears your late grandfather speak to you. That's weird. His voice is loud as it rings in the depths of the crypt, and yet he speaks to each of you separately. Foul-blood weakling, I knew you never had it in you to rise above your meager birth, Stephen. You have not a drop of nobility in you, and your pathetic little brother is the same. You are a taint upon my flesh and blood. Be gone from my crypt. Your legs carry out of the crypt of their own accord. Out of that stuffy crypt. You can finally breathe again. You hear slow footsteps behind you. You turn around and meet Nathan's gaze. You did the right thing. If it weren't for you, I'd have done what Father told us. Grandfather said I should stay away from his legacy. Said it'll do me no good if I try to follow in his footsteps. How's that for words of guidance, eh? Nathan sighs as he embraces you. Father and Stefan leave the crypt much later and walk to the carriage without a word. You and Nathan humbly follow behind them. Dun, 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 dun. Oh. This event is a consequence of your previous actions. Another day of school is behind you. You are now wandering your district, taking your time before going home. It is getting dark. Soon, you are walking past the splendid mansion of Count El Velasco, one of Magra's richest landlords. You hear a familiar voice from the other side of the iron fence. It is Stefan's voice. It is followed by the sound of a young lady laughing. You peek through the fence and into the mansion's garden. And indeed, there you see your elder brother, dressed like he is going to meet the Emperor himself. He is currently busy helping a pretty young lady out of the window. She locks him in an emotional embrace. You recognize her. Maria El Velasco, Count El Velasco's daughter. And as the whole city knows, she is already betrothed to another young nobleman from a far more illustrious family. Oh, Maria, I thought I would help you come down to earth from your heavenly abode, but your very touch brings me to the heavens. He picks the Count's daughter up and holds her in the air. She laughs, almost imperceptibly, and kisses him on the cheek. But then Stefan takes her by the chin and turns her to face him. Their lips join in a kiss. A flurry of emotion washes over you as you watch it happen. Stefan is putting the reputation of his entire family at risk. Acting so frivolously with the Count's daughter may turn the Count's influence against all the Brantes. And yet Stefan always speaks so highly of noble bearing and composure and family honor. Stefan's face is glowing with joy. Your older brother, he is happy, truly happy. You have never seen Stefan like this, as his arms hold the Count's daughter in a tender embrace, so gently as though he fears to hurt her. And Maria reciprocates his feelings. Must you really rob them of their secret joy? If you ever speak to him about this, no one else must hear it. You wait by the gate patiently until Stefan decides to return from his escapades. He is startled when he finally notices you standing by the gate. They all seem good. Stefan's disgrace. Well, they both lead to his disgrace. You fold your arms as you face your elder brother. He is confused to see you here. You speak to him openly. You know of his affair with Maria Velasco. And Stefan should forget the young lady as soon as humanly possible. He freezes at these words. You keep talking. A noble cannot behave like this. Stefan is risking bringing shame on all the Brantes, and worse yet, he is defying his own lot in his own words. His honor, Maria's honor, the family's honor, it will all be harmed by his recklessness. How could Stefan have forgotten about this? How could he have let his emotions rule him? Why should you have to be there to remind a born noble about this? You, who were born a commoner. Stefan frowns, but lets you keep talking. You wait for his anger, but there is none. When you are finally done speaking, your brother stays quiet for a long moment, and then sighs heavily. Yes, indeed, you're right. I lost control of myself. Maria, I am a madman in her presence. I forget the world when I'm with her, and I forgot my duty to my lot and my family. I will part ways with Lady of Velasco and offer my apologies to her father. My brother, thank you. You've reminded me of who I am. From that day on, Stefan stops going out at night. His attitude towards you has changed too. He now looks at you with respect, as if he has finally come to see you as an equal. Even in his anger, he is now quick to recall your brave decision and stop himself. So noble. Oh man. Grandfather's passing and last respects have left a mark on the entire family. His words relayed from the hereafter keep echoing in your mind. You still do your best to avoid the memory of grandfather's last night and spend more time on the city streets with Tomas and your other classmates. The road by the house reminds you of another clash with death. Sometimes as you walk along the road, you recall Sophia, the beautiful girl with the wonderful eyes, and the terrifying, thundering hooves. You have not seen Sophia since that fateful day. The children who live nearby say her parents sent her to a rich Arcanian family, the Altons, as a servant. Yeah, kitty. Was it Kitty's carrying a little rat? The sun has set. The pillar shines palely in the dark sky. Tomas is ill, so you decide to visit him and tell him the latest news. The streets seem oddly agitated tonight, full of horses, cloaked men, strange faces, and hushed voices. A young nobleman in a heavy embroidered cloak is walking back and forth, clutching at his sword nervously. There is a grimace of rage on his delicate blue face. He is an Arcanian. So is Grimace. You overhear voices. Sir Alton, the girl's not at home. We searched the house. Her parents swear she ran away from home too. They claim they wanted to bring her back. Just do whatever it takes. Turn this loathsome district upside down if you must. But bring my servant back to me. She's here. Sophia ran away from an Arcanian? How can this be? There's only one place on the entire street where a person could hide. The abandoned Moral House. 4 houses away from yours. You head there, doing your best not to attract attention. The lopsided house built of yellow brick has been abandoned for 20 years or so. You remember playing there as a boy. You glimpse a figure inside even before you enter. A pair of eyes glimmer in the dark. You would recognize them even after another 4 years. Sophia has grown up. She is almost an adult now, and her face is full of fear. She is not the easygoing girl next door that you remember. She finally recognizes you. Oh, it's you, Stephen. Be quiet. They're all looking for me. I ran away from the youngest Auton. I might be in for a lesser death here. but I'd rather die than spend another day in their slavery. I'm just a thing to him, just a toy to play with. Sophia winces and closes her mouth as she says this. There is a glint of bright yellow deep in her eyes. I ran to my parents. I told them all about the men I had to serve, and they went and alerted the Autons. They don't want to be the target of their ire, but you. You aren't going to tip them off, are you? The barking and shouting are getting closer. Sophia's voice grows quiet. She runs off to the darkest corner of the house before you can answer. One of the Auton servants is so close you can hear his cloak swishing against the ground. He notices something and calls for the others. If you're in there, girl, you'd be wise to come out and quit wasting my time. All will be forgiven and you'll go back to where you were. You know it, and if you don't, I'll drag you out by the hair. Great. The hilt of the young Archnean's sword bashes at the door. He is about to lose his patience for good. Sophia hugs the wall in the dark, trying to stay still. She glances at you. What will you do? Your heart is racing. Can you act against the Archnean's orders? Do you have the gall to defy the mighty nobleman? I'm in. I have no ingenuity. Father told us to never disobey an Archnean. You pull yourself. I feel so bad. You pull yourself together and walk slowly towards the half-collapsed doorway. Sophia stands behind. The tall young Archnean stares you down, his condescending smile dripping with scorn. Your hand raises to point at Sophia's hiding place. Auton nods, satisfied. Then he steps inside, his fingers on the hilt of his sword. You follow him in tow. The heck is going on? A silhouette runs in front of you. Sophia? You hear a high-pitched scream of rage. A golden light blinds you, a flash so bright it rends you from the inside. There is another voice in your head now, booming, screaming. Halt, freeze, drop. You lose control of your body, your arms and legs. You collapse at the Archnean's feet. Sophia uses this moment of confusion to run past the nobleman and out through the door. Auton steps over you, cursing, and runs after her. You hear noises from the other side of the wall, running, screaming, and orders to give chase. You lie there on a pile of old bricks, completely unable to move. Slowly the stupor leaves you. Finally your knees can bend again. You get to your feet, swaying, and walk out of the abandoned house. The young Archnean is standing in the doorway, shaking his head in frustration. So she's a witch, is she? Well, I'll be. What a fascinating lass. I know I chose her for a reason. Ah, there you are, youngster. So how did you like your first brush with magic? Tell me your name, and worry not, you have my thanks. You tremble as you introduce yourself to Dorius Auton. You will go far, young Brante. You know your loyalties. You walk back home, lost in thought. Sophia is a witch? You recall how it felt, how her magic bound you by the arms and legs, how it took away all control over your body, and how it made you lose the will to move. But that spell, you could sense something personal in the way it struck you. Was it hatred? The runaway girl becomes the talk of your district for an entire week. You overhear that Sophia managed to flee the city. The Altons are furious. After this sudden appearance, she disappears from your life once more. You will not see her again until much, much later. Indifference. It's a great Pearl Jam song. You're about to turn 15, just one step away from adulthood. Mother is acting anxious at dinner today, barely touching her food. You exchange glances with Gloria. She carefully tells you that she wants to go to the tailor. Mother shudders, and her hands clench into fists. No, don't you dare leave home today. I forbid it. That dirty heretic Fotis is preaching his lies under the silver tree today. Twins willing, I don't want you to hear any of that. You and Gloria glance at each other again. Fotis, he is a patriarch, the head of the clergy throughout the entire province. That is the first time you've heard Mother speak like this about a priest, especially such a high-ranking one. Once you leave the dinner table, Gloria comes to your room with a cunning expression on her face, like she's about to play a trick on someone. She has a plan. The two of you should sneak out of the house and go to the silver tree. You simply must hear that sermon for yourself. What's so bad about Patriarch Fotis? Why does Mother hate him so much? You two are grown-ups now. Surely you have the right to know. You agree with your sister. Together you sneak out from under your mother's watchful eye and hurry to the silver tree. The temple block is full of people from all ranks and estate. There's barely enough room for you to squeeze through the crowd. The horde has gathered around the very roots of the tree. Gloria suggests that you climb up to the roof of a nearby building so you can hear and see everything better. And not a moment too soon. From the roof you see a tall, silver-haired priest step onto the flat platform by the tree, dressed in the common black robe that looks far beneath his rank. Yet he stands like a noble before the crowd. Behind his back is a banner flapping in the wind, the open book. This is the symbol of the new faith, the crowd whispers. He holds his hand up to the sky, and the entire temple block grows quiet. The patriarch begins his sermon, his vibrant voice rolling across the square. Fotis speaks of a great mistake. We've entrusted ourselves to the lots as the only way to fulfill divine providence in this world. But for all these years, the will of the twins has been interpreted for us by a single man, Prophet Azatius. The twins are ever watching from atop of the shining pillar. Of this we have no doubt. But how can we so blindly believe that we truly follow their will by following the lots? Have we not seen the 3 lots of Azacius fall again and again to answer the question of how we ought to live our lives? Have we not seen people change their lot in life again and again without being smitten by divine wrath? Every person born, whether human or Archnean, lowborn or noble, must find their lot and their way to the gods on their own. From now on, we will seek the gods in their accounts of their own lives and their own acts in this world, and in their own words as they echo within us. And as we heed the voice of the twins within, we will each find their path for us on our own. Then, suddenly, a hoarse cry rises from the crowd. If there are no lots, does that mean the nobles are going to till the fields and the commoners are going to bear arms? The crowd begins to murmur. The patriarch raises an arm and inhales, ready to answer. From the roof, you see the moment when people start trampling each other, howling, praying, shouting. Gloria tugs on your sleeve. Time to go. You climb down from the roof and run. You return home without exchanging a word. Mother has been in her room all the while, so no one noticed your absence. Gloria locks herself in her room. You do not discuss the things you have just seen. They are too frightening. But your parents discuss every little detail of the blood-stained sermon over dinner. This is unbelievable. A patriarch murdered in plain sight. The gendarmes and the Archduke's guard have searched every corner of the slums, and the murderous beggar has disappeared without a trace. I can't even imagine a more gruesome crime. Fotis has died a true death, never to return from the hereafter. But how? Why can't the patriarch be reborn? He's so close to the twins. Such is the way of the world, my children. Once you are granted great power by the twins' will, there's no hope for you to come back, not even after the first of your deaths. Emperors, their powerful vassals, heads of great Archnean dynasties, patriarchs of the church, none of them are destined to be reborn. Fotis is gone forever. I fear for his soul. It was lost in doubt. Will the twins accept him upon the peak of the pillar? We must pray for the patriarch, children. Let us hope he managed to return to the true old faith before the moment of his passing. But there is little hope for that. Tomorrow, you turn 16. According to imperial law, you will be a full adult. Your time at Sir Tibor's school has ended. You have studied enough to apply for the Imperial College and learn the judge's trade there. You are to travel to Eterna tomorrow. Your friend Tomas will go there with you to try his luck in the Imperial capital. Mother and father prepare you for the long journey. Remember, son, there's only one goal for you. You must become a student at the Imperial College. Your teachers dragged you through all those books for a reason. You have the knowledge and fervor to be ennobled by the mantle as I was, and as my late father was before me. And who knows, maybe one day you will be the one to write the name Brante in the blue book, and ensure that your children's children will be noble by birth. Then Mother speaks to you carefully. There is worry in her eyes. But Robert, there may be another path for our son. Stefan, your firstborn, was born a noble. He will surely earn the title for the entire Brante family. Your second son bears the favor of the twins. For him, the path of the priest is a worthy calling, no less than a nobleman's sword. They have been arguing about your future for a while now. Still, she would never defy the will of a nobleman and her husband. You smile at them both, trying to placate them. Gloria laughs quietly behind their backs. What the hell? Just don't become a snoot like Stefan and you'll do just fine. Mother chides Gloria for that. You wink at your sister. Nathan has been downcast all evening. He barely touched his dinner. When everyone gets up from the table, he suddenly rushes over to embrace you. Please don't go, Stephen. Can't you stay? I don't know what I'm going to do without you. You tussle his hair in response. There's no way you can stay now, you say. But when you come home, and you will come home, you'll tell him all the stories and bring him a special present from Eterna. This is it. All your lessons have been learned. All your things have been packed for the road. You will leave the family home tomorrow. Tonight is your last night at home before your departure. You walk through the rooms one last time. The sitting room where Mother used to read you fairy tales. The library where Gloria used to spend all her time. Father's study, which you entered only on special occasions. The backyard where you taught Nathan to build towers one summer. I don't know why I'm skipping past all this. Yikes. You open the door to Mother's room. She's kneeling in prayer. Her back is to the door and her whispers fill the room. She turns around and smiles gently when she hears your footsteps. You want to spend tonight with her before you leave. Mother reaches out to you. Come with me, Stephen. There is no need for anybody else to hear us. You walk silently downstairs, enter the empty sitting room, and light the candles. You are so close to the gods, my son. I knew it as soon as you were born. I saw them watching over you closely. Let us pray together, my son. May the twins know your honor, their every touch. You stand by Mother's side as she whispers prayer after prayer. First, she offers gratitude for the life and lot you have been granted. Then, a plea to show your path through the world, for it has no mercy. Next, a promise to heed and obey their every call. There is such fervor in her prayer, such piety. You know for certain as you pray with her that the gods will provide for you. They will ensure that your path is true, for there is no other way. The sun is about to rise. You should rest before the long trip, but you are not tired at all. On the contrary, you feel lucid and clear-headed. Mother embraces you once the prayers are done. My son, life is hard, but it is just. More so for those who follow their lot. Remember, be humble in your words and work hard. Before you go, Mother removes a pendant with the twins' cross puts it around your neck. You return to your room and get into bed. You can see the shining pillar from the window glowing gently against the twilight morning sky. All your worries about the long journey are no more. You feel calm and serene. You leave the family home for a long time. Your future awaits you in Eterna, the capital of the empire. Last night was your last night at home. The carriage is now waiting at the gate, ready to take you to the capital. The clip-clopping of the idle hooves against the cobblestones count the seconds before your departure. You take one last look at your parents' house and recall your childhood spent there, in the nearby yards, at your school, and on the winding streets of Anazot. You clashed with the greater world around you and survived. You felt the tingle of emotion for the first time. You were taught by the school and the streets. You explored the city of your birth and learned something of its past. You witnessed firsthand events that will be remembered by history for all time. This is yours now, forever. You saw death, a lesser death followed by rebirth, and the true death that takes and never gives back. You saw death lying in wait to strike the unaware, like a beast stalking its prey. You saw grandfather's angry grimace lit by the flickering fire of the lamp, the Archduke's cavalry trampling those who stood in their way, and your older brother's bloodied sword slicing through the air. Death has followed you from a very young age. And yet you live on. You have a friend who has been by your side all these years. Tomas taught you many things, how to take a hit, how to stay true to your word, and how to remain true to your own self. And now Tomas is walking to the same carriage as you with a heavy bag slung over his shoulder. Your friend will remain by your side. Ahead of you is a long trip to the capital and adulthood. For the first time, you'll be away from your family and home. What awaits you there? These are your personal qualities in adulthood, which you'll use for the rest of your life. They are some of the qualities that you have gained in childhood and adolescence. Oh, we're pretty noble, pretty perceptive, right on the cusp of being insightful. Ooh. We're not that bright. Hey. Canny. Ravioli. No. Or a spineless noble. No. Scheming. The end of chapter 2. You survived your first clashes with the greater world around you and felt that... Oh, I read that. Hey. Yeah. There you go. Wow, that's just gonna stop. All right. Hey, um, put at least something on there. Hey, I've made this far. I appreciate it. Oh man, the life and suffering of Sir Brante. We'll see you later.